Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to This Just In, episode one, again, sort of. Following up on what I started on my personal page, and now here I have other types of pages. So we're branded This Just In live. Here we go. Episode one is about identity. I'm going to quickly recap some of the stuff I covered in the last video, and you're welcome to dig up my personal page and find it. It's not private, probably should be, but that's all right. So, what I talked about is some of the obvious things of identity, like what's on your ID: height, your weight, eye color, skin color, right? These are aspects, but that's not who I am. That's not who I believe I am. I'm not this physical manifestation. I just believe it's what we call an earth. It's something that I'm in while I'm here on earth. But what I am is much deeper. But let's dive a little bit more into that government ID card, right? I got a social security number. I got a driver's license ID. These are my governmental IDs. Passport ID number, right? They're not who I am. Biological identity, we can talk about gender and that kind of thing, but really, it comes down to your genetic code, your DNA. That is my physique. That is what makes my body that makes me physically, right? But again, my identity is much deeper than that, and I would challenge you to think of your own identity as being much deeper than what you look like, right? Where you're born, what family you're born into, what color your skin is, and your eyes and your hair. None of that is chosen by you, or generally affected by you. So it's really not who you are, in my opinion. So I'm going to try to get a little deeper. We talked about political identity. I was raised to be conservative, I was educated to be more liberal. Now I'm sort of libertarian in the middle, a moderate, but kind of have extreme ideas on both sides of the spectrum. I don't really fit in anywhere, right? So I'm just fiercely independent. That's what I've decided my political ideas. Social ID. I've certainly fit into several different subcultures and subcategories of civilization. Of course, I'm an American, which means I'm independent, industrious, entrepreneurial, all these different things that a lot of Americans are, freedom loving. But again, my identity is so much deeper than that. Let's talk about religious identity. I'm definitely a Christian, and that is a large part of my identity. But whether I'm a Baptist or a Presbyterian or a Catholic or a Mormon or whatever I actually am, I don't even know what kind of Christian I am. People would say maybe evangelical or charismatic or all these different words, but those are just labels that, in my opinion, kind of miss the point and tend to divide more than unite, which we're going to probably unpack later. But these labels aren't really who I am either. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that. Was talking to my wife Cassie, and we were talking. Somehow she kind of reminded me of how our emotions affect who we are, right? The things that we've experienced, the hurts that we've endured, the ways that we've hurt others, or just all these different emotional aspects of our life. Fear, anxiety, joy, all these things kind of affect who we are. And I kind of believe that you wear your emotional identity on your face. Your resting face is kind of a reflection of your soul and your spirit, and what you've been through and who you've become and all that stuff. I've always had a lot of smile lines on my face, and lately I've noticed my face getting a little bit more intense, maybe a little more hardened. And so that's something I see when I look in the mirror and recognize, and can appreciate how my past and the events of my life have, and how I've responded to them, most importantly, have affected who I am becoming, who I am right now. Uh, Financial identity, I've been all over the map there. I've been poor, I've been negative, I've been positive. This is not important to me at all, but it does have importance. And so it is something I keep track of, just being a responsible adult in America. Look, my shirt has a hole in it. That's not very professional. It doesn't look good. And my office is a mess. I got to do something about that. Moving on. Uh, ADD can be part of the identity, right? That's a label I'm sure I could get if I wanted to at a doctor's office, and certainly have been called before. I'm not sure which bucket that would fit into, but professional identity. I've been a lot of things, busser, a dishwasher, a painter, a builder, you name it, right? Teacher, But right now, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a digital marketer. That's one of the main things I do right now. And so that is a part of my identity. But again, it's not who I am. It's not the deepest definition of my identity. Personal ID. So now we're getting a little deeper. This is the identity that you choose for yourself, what you call yourself, what you believe about yourself. And I'm going to dive into this a little bit more. In the last video, I talked about a measurement I made up called a thought second, kind of like a foot pound, but a thought second measures uh, how much time you spend thinking about a thing, right? How much time are you spending thinking about the new car you want? How much time are you spending thinking about, how you wish your life was different? How much time are you spending imagining your best life? How much time are you spending reflecting on things? Or how much time are you spending just being distracted and letting, social media outlets or news articles, capture your attention and direct your conscious thought? I encourage you to be very conscious of how you spend your thought seconds because I believe, and I could pull up some quotes, thoughts generally become words. You think something before you say it. Words become actions. You talk about something before you do it. Actions become habits. Habits end up defining your character, and your character defines your life and becomes your legacy. So it all comes down to what you think about. What you think about, you bring about, right? That's what somebody said once, I'm sure. And I just said it again. So there you go. But I do want us, and this will be a recurring theme through all my videos, to coming back to how you spend your thought seconds. What are you thinking about? What are you speaking about? And what are you doing? So I believe that those three things, what you think about, what you speak about, and what you do, are major parts of your identity. So let's talk about some of the things that I define myself as, my personal identity. I'm a husband, I'm a father. I chose both those things, right? Um, I am an adventurer. I love to have adventures. I'm an extreme sports enthusiast. Sometimes a daredevil, right? I love adventure. I'm an adventurer. I'm an explorer. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a philanthropist. I'm a volunteer. I'm a servant. These are the things that I choose to be, and that's what I'm pursuing now. Let's talk about perceived ID and your past ID. So, your perceived identity is what other people think about you. A lot of times, this is based on reality, it's based on empirical evidence, things that they have observed, right? These are generally things that we've sort of earned, right? However, it doesn't have to define who you are. Who you have been doesn't have to be who you will be and who you are right now. You can choose that. So I've been things in the past that I'm not anymore, and I'm choosing not to let them affect my identity and my perception of my identity, even though some people may hold on to those perceptions of who I am, right? So let's just quickly go through some of these really negative things that I have been in the past, right? So I have been um, disorganized, unreliable, um, attention deficit. I've been an addict. I've been a criminal. I've been worse things that I probably am not going to mention right now on this live stream. But you know what? That doesn't define me. It's who I was, and maybe it did define me then, and they were true aspects of my identity, and they have an effect on who I am today and who I will be in the future. But they are no longer my identity. In some ways, very specifically. But I'll get into more of those more intimate stories later. So don't let your past define your future. Don't let your past define who you choose to be and who you strive to be right now, today, in this moment. You have the power to control your thoughts, even though sometimes it's hard and sometimes thoughts come in, but you have the ability to train yourself to capture those thoughts and control your thoughts and change them. If you don't believe me, give it a try. Read some books. There's lots of great stuff out there. You have the ability to choose your words, what you speak out there to other people, to yourself. Self talk's for real. It really does affect your perception of yourself. So be on guard against negative self talk. Um, you need to encourage yourself, right? Especially if no one else is. And it can be very hard, right? Those ants, as Dr. Amen says, automatic negative thoughts, they can be really destructive. So take every thought captive and be in control of your thought seconds in your mind. So we've talked about how other people define me, how I define me, how the government defines me, how my biological code defines me and creates and contributes to my identity. But there is an even deeper layer, I believe, about who I am and what my real identity is. So I believe that I am a spiritual being living in a physical world. So this physical body is, just like something I'm wearing for this period of my existence. But my truest self is my soul, my spirit, which is metaphysical and which will endure long after this body passes away. That's my belief. You don't have to share it, but it's the truth. So let's talk about my spiritual identity. Hmm. I believe that I am created. So I wasn't accidentally formed or anything like that. I was created on purpose. I was chosen. I am chosen. I'm chosen for a purpose. I'm chosen to do good things. I believe I am known by the Creator, and I believe I am loved by the Creator. Even if I don't feel love anywhere else in the world, if I hold on to that truth that I believe, that I was created, that I was chosen, that I'm known, good, bad, and ugly, and that I'm loved regardless of all of that. I can hold on to that, and that can carry me through difficult times. Luckily, I have an amazing support network of family and friends and colleagues and everything. And I thank you all so much for your encouragement and support through all the ups and downs of life. It really means a lot and has helped me become who I am. And I recognize that. But let's keep going on some of this spiritual identity stuff. Um, I believe that I am no longer a slave. I'm free. Look, I've been a slave. I've been an addict. I've been doing things that I didn't want to do, even consciously trying not to. So, being a slave doesn't mean, someone's whipping your back and you're doing work necessarily. Uh, you can be a slave to a lot of different things. And, there's this theme in the Bible of you're a slave to sin. You're a slave to do these things you don't necessarily want to do, but you're still doing them. Um, so I believe that I'm no longer a slave. I'm free. I've been given freedom. I've been granted freedom. So I am free. I believe I was lost and now I'm found. I know where I am. Um, God found me. He pulled me out of the darkness where I was lost. I was groping around, not knowing what was what, who I was, all that good stuff. I was dead. Now I'm alive. I was dead spiritually. Now I'm alive spiritually. And we'll get into more of this stuff later, I'm sure. Uh, this one's a tough one. I believe I'm holy, righteous, and redeemed. Now, if you know me at all, you'll know that I'm far from perfect. Uh, but yet, this is what the word that I believe as a foundational belief um, says about me. And so I accept it. And we'll get into more about how this all works, how someone who's a sinner and, deserves what's coming to him ends up becoming holy and righteous and perfect in God's eyes. It's a crazy thing. Doesn't make any sense. I believe I'm also more than a conqueror. We'll get into more of that later, but I'm a conqueror. I can conquer things by the grace of God, and I will continue to do so. But even more than that, which is pretty awesome. And lastly, and this is like the biggest one, this is the core foundation of my identity. I am a son of God, the God that created the heaven and the earth and everything, the God above all gods, the guy, right? The metaphysical, spiritual being, imperceivable, almost unknowable, yet he gives us this big book so we can get to know him. And he's adopted me as his son. He created me, he chose me, he knew me before I was born, he knows everything about me, and he decided to adopt me into his family as a son, which is pretty awesome. It's extremely awesome. So I believe I'm a citizen and an heir of the kingdom of heaven. So the kingdom is this metaphysical kingdom that is here right now, as much as we can bring it and manifest it here on earth. But in the reality that is separate from the physical reality, it is the most powerful, all encompassing kingdom, is the word that we can most understand what it's like. So hopefully that didn't get too deep on you. I'm gonna try to end this at 15 minutes. Oh, maybe I hope it did get really deep on you. Anyway, I want to ask you who you are. Who do you define yourself as? How have other people defined you? who do you want to be, and how are you making that happen with your thoughts, your words, and your actions? Next week we're going to talk about integrity, which is basically doing what you say you're going to do, being who you say you're going to be, and I'm really looking forward to talking about that with you. Love you all. Peace.